Hello and welcome to today's little show. This is my brainstorming stream wherein I do some random cartoon doodles of my various characters. Gonna adjust my document camera a little bit. Well, we'll just try and keep things away from the bottom there. Hello, everyone. So today's theme is my character, cartoon safari. My characters meeting various animals, and our usual little twerp Miles is a little bit sensitive of his height, being, half mouse, half rat, but living in a city full of rat people who are a whole head shorter than him. So I just had a vision of him making himself very, very tall. Although, if you're standing on a giraffe's back, is it really your height? It's kind of like the height version of stolen valor, I think, but that's just my opinion. What do I know? So we have our giraffe being a little bit distracted here. Yeah. And what I'm doing the initial sketch in is a non-photo blue pencil crayon. So this is Prismacolor. I don't know if that's kind of in focus. Probably not. Yeah, maybe. And it's PC 919 for the non-photo blue. The reason for that is that traditionally with black and white comics, you're either scanning them in black and white with a drum scanner if you had access to one of those, or you're using um, a Xerox machine, and they would not recognize the blue when you scanned it. I mean, obviously, if you did like that, it probably would, but normally you'd sketch in very lightly. So let's get our giraffe going. And so giraffes, I looked it up. I think the males can be like 11 feet tall at the shoulder. So, and then like 18, 19 feet tall overall, probably closer to 18, I guess. But obviously, I'm not quite in proportion because 11, well, I guess 7. Yeah, actually, I guess I'm kind of bang on proportionally. But let's draw our little twerp friend, Miles, who, well, he's a whole head shorter than Ricky, who's kind of my main rat character. But Ricky says he's just regular rat dude height at 5'11". So therefore, Miles, guess Miles would be 4 foot something. Um, whatever Miles's height is, you just know that he's lying about it on his driver's license. So uh, that's you can't really trust him. It's kind of like so many of these short '80s rock stars whose bios all said they were 5'8", and then you meet them or you see them standing next to a photo of someone you've actually met, and you realize actually they're like 5'4". But and anyone who says otherwise is probably about lying about their own height. Uh, kind of a silly story, but once upon a time, I knew an individual who claimed to have met Bono a couple times. And funny thing is, the guy actually hated Bono. So it's not like this was like a super fan, like trying to puff up their idol. But dude claimed that he had met Bono, and he insisted, was 5'10". I said, that's weird because what I've seen on the various U2 fan group is they're the people puffing him up say 5'7", and other sources say like 5'5". And the guy's like, no, 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 he's 5'10". I'm like, okay, well, you're the only person on the entire internet who says Bono's 5'10". Well, how did he determine this? Well, he compared to his own height. So, well, Bono's, like only a couple inches shorter than I am, and I'm 6 foot tall. I'm just sitting there going like, okay, I think then you're probably not 6 foot tall. But anyways, uh, that's a whole other thing. But Miles, although funnily enough, I don't really draw Miles as wearing like boots with heels or anything. He'll just yell at you and headbutt you in the solar plexus if you say something about his height that he doesn't like. You know. So we've got our giraffe there. And so if the giraffe is 11 feet high at the shoulders, then sort of about that's probably roughly 5 foot 11, a little bit more than half, right? So we'll say Ricky's standing here, and that's the top of Ricky's ears. Now, we're not entirely sure if Ricky's claim to be 5 foot 11 is based on like the top of his skull, the tippy tip tops of his big old ears, the top of his punk hairdo. We don't know these things. We have not grabbed him and put him up again. Well, I guess we'd have to see his mugshots. With the kind of the white trash family whatnot, he and his cousins have definitely had mugshots taken. Yeah. Well, actually, I was a couple brainstorming streams ago. We had Ricky getting fingerprinted by the cops for street racing. So, they would have recorded his height at that point. But the Freedom of Information Act re- info request hasn't come back with the answer yet. So we don't know. Anyways, so there is Ricky. Now, of course, we're going to have a little conversation here. Where's my pen? A whole bunch of these Staedtler pigment liners off to the side. They're supposed to pigment liners in theory. Well, it says right here, indelible, it says water resistant, not necessarily waterproof on paper. Light fast, store horizontally. Okay, so in theory, waterproof on paper, to my mind, means that they probably shouldn't smear, but they will. Mind you, if I'm going over them with markers, even though the ones I use here aren't acrylic markers, or not acrylic, what's the word I'm looking for? I mean, obviously acrylic markers, uh, acrylic markers are paint, so shouldn't be affected by that, but they're not alcohol markers, which definitely will smear things. But I don't know the exact chemical formulation. I just know that lighter colors definitely do smear going over these pens. So Miles, and now who's taller? And I'm going to use this pen to ink the whole thing, but I'm going to finish my little jungle drawing, or I guess savanna, right? Yeah, giraffes are in the savanna. Shows how much I pay attention to the Discovery Channel, eh? So anyways, Ricky's comment's going to be fighting words here. After all, if you're standing on the back of a giraffe, that doesn't make you taller. It just means you're higher up. It's like standing on a ladder, but don't try saying that to Miles. He will not be happy with you if you do. So, I'll draw a little bit of a bush in here. Considering that the last time I was drawing animals, I had somebody having to shovel the poop. There was the one with Ursula having to clean up the lions after her running away to join the circus. That was a live stream a couple weeks back. And then there was Ursula riding a T-Rex and Noah having to get the shovel out for the T-Rex poop. So I guess we're going to just continue on. Kind of immature, but something tells me there was an old episode of Mythbusters where they tested the myth about polishing turds, and they did go and collect various animal droppings from the zoo in San Francisco, and one of to test their polishability, and one of them was giraffe droppings. But anyways, let's draw Noah in being very unhappy about this whole thing. But this is what happens when you dress up as a park ranger. So, moral of the story, don't wear a park ranger outfit to the safari and nobody's going to hand you a shovel. So, doo-doo-doo. Well, no, I think is actually slightly. I was shorter than Ricky, but not by much. So, but he's also standing further back, so that's why sometimes you can. In theory, you should have, if you have a vanishing point that's here, um, the people should all have their eyes at the same level because on average, most people, like adults anyways, most people have their eye level roughly, give or take a bit. And if it's a photo with some depth, that you could have somebody here and if their eye level is here, then the person who's standing back there is proportionally shorter and their eyes should be the same. But it really depends on on the level of your camera and focal point and all that sort of stuff. Also, these are cartoons, so accuracy, we don't need no stinking accuracy. Just comparing though, size-wise, because yeah, that's going to be about right. Um, Actually, I think what I'm going to draw Noah wearing is more like a explorer hat, but not that I have a reference photo, but there, that's slightly better proportions from the body size. We'll fix it in the mix with the pen. So there we go. Put a few more. Let's put a horizon line about there. Some more trees. Yeah, we'll kind of fake it like that. So now let's start working on the line work. So I think I normally use a 1.2 millimeter, but that's more when I have a character whose head is about that size. So these guys are all smaller, so I think I'm going to go with 0.7. Can always make it fatter with a thicker pen, but random little fiber there. But once you go for a too thick pen, then you kind of can't do anything about that, making it thinner. And what I've been doing lately is making little clips from these brainstorming live streams. So if somebody wants to just see something short instead of like a 2 hour or hour and a half long video, then it's like, okay, here you go. Here's like some of them are sped up as much as, right down to like 30, 40 seconds. And some of them are remaining a little longer. And, yeah, some of these may eventually become inspiration for later works, whether it's comics for Noah's Archipelago, or which is my web comic, or whether they'll become paintings or whatever. But they're kind of fun to play around with. So hard to draw at this scale, but Miles tends to like wearing, two-tone spectator shoes. So I just kind of get the rough impression by the toe caps. My main experience with giraffes is the logo for Toys R Us back in the day, but could try and make this one look a little more realistic than that. But I think they do have a bit of a rough down, not like a full mane, but a bit of dark scruff running down the spine. The giraffe does not look impressed. Who's this little asshole standing on my back? But he's got leaves, so right now he's busy. We will add marker color once we're kind of have the line work sorted down. I mean, the line work is going to be fairly rough here, but it is a brainstorming sketch. I think I'll use probably a thinner even marker, 0.5 back here. I find like you can sort of tell the difference. Some of them it's very subtle, especially when you're just kind of glancing over the top, as opposed to digging in or whatnot. You tend to not get as full width of your lines, but sense of a bit of a pathway through here. So shrub. Maybe we've got a bit of a rut in the road. I guess we can't forget Miles's tail. After all, he is a mouse dude. So the tail and the ears, all kind of part of the whole shtick. For the patterning on the giraffe, I'll just do that with color rather than outline them all. So let's come and do Noah with his little explorer hat. Now Noah's eyes are different. Miles is wearing glasses, so he doesn't have the bug eyes look, but these guys are from two different comic projects, so kind of two different styles, but he did have one drawing in an old sketchbook. Well, not that old, I guess it was from last year, but Ricky meeting Noah and asking why he had such funny, weird little ears, and what happened to how come you don't got no whiskers, and what happened to your tail, dude? And Noah didn't answer him. He just figured must ignore stupid rat, which is just kind of a way to guarantee the rat's going to continue asking questions. Can't see his other shoe because it's in behind the shovel. If memory serves from the Mythbusters episode, giraffes actually lay things that just look like really big rabbit pellets, but you know. Well, I let reality get in the way of a good cartoon meme gag, right? I'm gonna have the road kind of disappear off a little bit that way. Because then I can have some little like purplish mountains in the background or whatnot. Miles can pretend that he's taller than the mountains even. Ricky always usually has a smoke in his hand. Mama Rat always tells him he needs to quit, but you know, Mama Rat tells him all sorts of things he ignores. right, let's move on to some color. A couple different kinds of markers that I like to use. My favorite ones, although they only have a few colors, are these actually like really cheap set of calligraphy markers I got from Michael's a long time ago, but they're pretty damn good. So, yeah, I think I'm gonna kind of do a base color. Might be a bit much. I think that is a little bit dark for a giraffe, but yeah, you know what? We'll just assume this one's got the giraffe version of a tan and go with the fairly dark brown. So I think they should be slightly lighter yellow ochre color, but I assume giraffes are also a lot like many other animals where the belly is a much lighter color, but too late for that now. We'll assume that cartoon giraffes don't have that kind of lighter belly, darker back thing that real animals usually do. Starting to feel like, well, those medieval, you look at medieval manuscripts and they've done like illustrations of animals in the margins, and some of them even common animals like rabbits and stuff. You look and go, "You have never actually seen a rabbit, huh?" I'm starting to understand how that comes to be. I did do a research sketch, for the pose and whatnot, but, I didn't really I was like, "I don't need to pay attention to how the, although this is starting to look very giraffe-like to me, but that's maybe my rationalization. Call this stream, Pyra draws animals she has not seen in person. Might be a fun idea for a live stream at some point down the road. It's like have people in the chat, throw out suggestions, and then I'll just, without research, try and guess it, or just draw something completely bizarre and obviously fake when I don't know the real answer. Pardon me. I've got a phone call coming in. Hello? Ah, never mind. I look at it at a quick glance, I'm like, "Oh, crap, that looks like my dad's cell phone number," and then it's political telemarketer. It's like, "Ah, knew I shouldn't have answered that." Anyways, moving on. I'm just gonna empty some markers out so that I'm not constantly digging in the middle of the stream. So now let's get into the other markers from this bag. And we'll pull out some good safari-ish kind of colors, as well as ones we will need for Noah and whatnot, and the rodents. And let's work back to front. That's kind of usually recommended. So this one is definitely, this marker is kind of dying. In the camera, it looks like there's nothing being applied at all. Let's and instead of putting this back in the bag like I've been doing, I think I'm going to kind of toss it on the floor behind me to find it later and remember that it's probably dead. That's a little bit. Well, we'll just say it's a super blue sky today in this wherever they're at for their safari. I mean, sometimes in the summer the sky does look really intensely dark blue like that. So have Miles wearing some snazzy red shoes, although at that scale, man, they're not really going to show. But these days, I do plan on making puppets of some of my characters, and I actually have a pair of um, toddler shoes that I had ordered online that would be for Miles, and they're like bright yellow little wingtips. But not only that, they're like faux crocodile, like embossed. I mean, I'm sure they're PVC or whatever, like vinyl. Um, but they are supposed to look like little crocodile shoes, and I saw those on eBay, and I was like, oh, I have to get those. I'll even size the puppet to fit them because they were absolutely perfect for Miles's character. But then we draw them at this size, and you can't even tell that that's what they're supposed to be. Yeah, it's kind of bothering me that Ricky looks like he's a little bit too tipped forward. It is what it is. If you have one too many beers in the hot noonday sun, you will be tipping forward a lot faster than you will in the winter time. So there's that. Now, I'm watching some videos lately of a guy in Texas who bought I don't know if I mentioned this on previous streams, but he had bought it's like 300 and some odd acre ranch. Maybe it was hectare even. I don't know. I think it was 320 acres. Um, but it's in the desert very close to the Mexican border in Texas. And he's trying to turn it into a desert forest, which does include planting cacti and whatnot. But it's kind of interesting when they get the greens coming in, they're this kind of a green, not like the emerald greens that you think of in my part of the world where things are. Well, I mean, I do live in technically a rainforest. Yeah, yeah, kind of that went over Miles's tail, but oh well. I just want to keep things super loose because it is, after all, it's a brainstorming sketch. It's not supposed to be a finished marker painting or whatever. That's kind of decent enough kind of a road color for the dry season. And Noah likes these kind of like, what's the term I've heard? Memphis group, like 80s, early 90s, crazy bright jewel tone colors. His wife, not so thrilled with them, but she married him despite it, so she can't really complain. And we are gonna call that one there. Let's flip over to a new sketch. So we had Ricky, we had Noah, and then we had Miles. And Ricky's girlfriend, Baby, is Noah's, or not Noah, Miles's cousin. And just thinking if we're talking animals, now this obviously would not be part of the same safari unless they are in fact in some weird, zoo with game, well, I guess probably wouldn't be a game farm, but 'cause it would probably be illegal, but it would be some sort of a zoo that you drive through because, well, you'll see. The next animal definitely is not from the African plains like the giraffe. Okay, that's a little better. Miles and Baby, they've always, yeah, they sort of get along, but they also have been butting heads ever since, you know, Baby, basically ever since Baby was a toddler, because she's quite a few years younger than Miles, but bigger than him because she's entirely rat. Now, can I remember if the pandas have the black butts and the white chests, or is it the other way around? Probably regional variations, but I'm gonna quickly cheat. Oh, kind of. I guess it depends. Some of them appear to have just black arms and the black legs, and that's what we're gonna kind of draw there. And then some are kind of rocking the Winnie the Pooh look. So, anyways, so what is Baby's comment going to be? Right. Because they're proportionally bigger, I'm going to use the thicker marker to outline everything. This one's starting to run out of ink, which normally I don't like, but when we're talking about Baby's hair, kind of works because, well, She has got some roots on her. I think I will find a different one for her face. I'll also use this one for the white parts of the panda. I'm not going to be too worried about um, the outline here because I'm going to use a fat black marker. Kind of see the family resemblance in the chins. Miles's mother is baby's father's sister. So bad pun, but couldn't resist. Those are the same color probably, but we'll see. Quite a few of these markers that are starting to run out of ink, but oh well. I think we will leave this one there. And I've been going a little over an hour. Why don't I do one more for tonight's stream? Can always come back to the whole animal cartoon safari idea later. And then we're going to have Ursula's daughter, Noah. It's a little bit of a revisit of one of the cartoons from the circus brainstorming. So Ursula, of course, has ulterior motives for wanting to go on safari, and they certainly don't involve seeing wildlife for the sake of seeing wildlife. One presumes the seats will be closer, but I need no stinking accuracy. For whatever reason, I feel like I'm drawing the inside of the safari vehicle kind of like a school bus, but oh well. It is what it is, right? I think this might actually end up being kind of the last of these kind of streams um, for Tuesdays because it's doing some content planning and project planning um, earlier today, kind of looking at books I want to get done and whatnot. Obviously, on Fridays and Mondays, I work on um, the Ricky project and the Miles project. But I also have a couple others that I kind of have in the pike. That's maybe not the right word, but anyways, so I may start next week on the Tuesday working on actually a coloring book that I've been thinking of doing. We'll see. Kind of think about it a little bit more over the weekend when I am getting stuff ready to go and scheduling the streams as to what I want to do with it. But I like streaming on Tuesdays, but I'm not sure that sometimes these ones are fun, but sometimes these streams kind of end up being a um, bit of a miss. So it might make more sense to kind of stream on do a third stream similar to the Friday and Monday streams and work on an actual project. So I think we're gonna call the stream at that point. It's been 1.5 hours. So let's just have a flip through at the end for what we have done. We've done three relatively big drawings. So first up, we had Miles standing on the giraffe, asking who's taller. Ricky saying, "Oh, the giraffe," and Ursula's dad, Noah, in a repeating joke from previous streams. He's there having to shovel the poop. That goes back to inking stream with Noah having to shovel up after a T-Rex, and then Ursula having to clean lion cages during the circus brainstorming stream not that long ago. And then we had Ricky's girlfriend, Baby, who is Miles's cousin, and she's admiring the panda. Miles, and I just realized I didn't color in Miles's hair, so let's quickly do that. Miles points out that he thinks the panda's wearing almost as much makeup as Baby. And the panda recites an old ad line. And then Ursula trying to get the lion to eat her math homework, and the lion is not complying. So that is it for this Tuesday brainstorming stream. Next stream is Friday. I am inking a spread from the Ricky B book, Ricky B Goes to Sea. And I think that spread's going to take the whole stream because it's probably going to be like an hour per side and do both sides. And then on Monday, we will do we'll do a bit more from the Miles book. I have been up until now just doing one half of each spread per stream, but I want to make the streams a little longer. So, but I also don't want to do half of one stream or half of one spread and then half of the next one. So on Monday, I think what I'm going to do, one of my viewers was talking about a scene with Ricky and Miles getting into a bar fight. So I might whip up a page blue lined in advance. And then once I finish the right side of L is for Lakeside Ladiesmen, that spread of the Miles book, then I'll ink the other half or that little blue line of the bar fight. So, and then after that, it'll be one spread, both pages per stream. So, anyways, thanks for watching, and we will catch you on the next stream real soon. Bye for now.